Welcome to the Waiting List podcast. Tell us a story.
It's like many things you start building from scratch.
And then I'm like, wait, I really do like watches because
you've seen so many watches that makes you excited.
I think I really do like watches.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to see if you are a watch enthusiast.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we have Zoe again from Watchbox. You can find her on Watch Girl Off Duty on Instagram. If you missed our first interview with Zoe, please make sure to go back and listen to that because it's just so much and we couldn't cover everything in the first episode. Listening to this one, you would definitely hear a lot more of her stories. We can go more in depth. And if you want to contact her, you want to look for her, I think Instagram is probably the best place, right? So Watch Girl Off Duty. All right, here we go. Let's go.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's start off with reselling, right? So how big is the reselling of watches and what kind of growth is there?
Massive. If you think about it, how many years watches have been in production on a mainstream level, and then all of those watches that either people don't wear anymore or don't want anymore for whatever reason, all of those watches need to go somewhere. You have all of these Swiss-made high-end luxury watches, like millions and millions, and you're not going to just throw it out, right? So you sell it or hand it down. And the secondary market is just so huge, and it's growing because there's a lot of benefits to buying on the secondary market. Of course, number one, you have all of the watches that are no longer in production that you can buy on the secondary market, vintage, discontinued, whatever it may be. And then you also have gray market, which are new goods that you can find outside of authorized retailers or boutiques from the brands. And usually those pieces that you're finding on the gray market, that's going to be at a discount, or it's going to be super desirable pieces that you can't get at retail and you'll pay a premium on that. And then of course, coming back to Watchbox, you have pre-owned watches that there's a couple of reasons why people do that. Either they need the money to sell the pieces, or there's people that just love trading watches and they love the game, they love hunting, they love selling. So there's a lot of aspects to the secondary market, and I'm forgetting auction as well. But
So you've touched on a few terms there that I think we need to clarify, because I think you're saying terms that actually I might process them, even me, I might process them differently, and I think it's important for the audience to know. So when you say pre-owned, what exactly do you mean there? What do you mean when you say like secondary market? What do you mean by gray market?
Sure. To me, the secondary market is anything not sold as retail. Exactly. So not from an AD, an authorized dealer, an authorized retailer, or the boutique, the brand
that's
itself.
the same as me then. Yeah.
So that's the secondary market to me. And again, that includes auction houses, pre-owned. And so pre-owned to me, it could be an unworn watch, but if someone owned it, bought it, owned it, and then sells it, that's a pre-owned watch. So sometimes people get confused because it could be an unworn watch, but to me, that's not new because it has been owned by someone else. Yeah.
I get that. And the gray
market. I learned about the gray market due to a major company in the US called Joma Shop. And Joma Shop lists almost every single modern watch reference, doesn't matter, on their website. And I was always so fascinated by this. I'm like, how do they have so much inventory? And they don't. So what you do with Joma Shop is you click to buy the watch. In the fine print, it says, this watch takes 2 to 3 weeks to deliver. And then you speak to someone, you pay for it. Joma Shop then has money, a sold order, and they go and they source that watch, either from the brand or from an AD.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's gray market. Okay. That's a new piece that you're getting through a different channel. Again, at
what price are you getting at?
Depends on the watch.
Okay.
So if you go for an IWC, a Panerai, a Tudor, Omega, Breguet, any of the brands that aren't, Patek, Rolex, FP Journe for sure. There's not much of a gray market there. But kind of the more mid-tier brands,
More the,
you're gonna
brands.
get at least 20 to 25, maybe even 30% off on those brands.
So we could say gray market is non-authorized dealers selling at a discount.
That's a way better way to put it than my long-winded answer. Yes.
No, I just processed that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, so that's gray market. And I think in different countries, it's slightly different on the way that it works. Joma Shop, I'm just comfortable with talking about because I'm from the US and I've dealt with people trying to buy watches pre-owned from Watchbox and say, well, Joma Shop is selling a new one at this price. What you can do? And I said, well, here are the benefits to buying from us versus Joma Shop. One, typically with Joma Shop, what they do is they just give you their own warranty. They're not giving you the factory warranty. So it's not as traceable. It's not as traceable because if you get the original warranty card with the watch through Joma Shop, then you can kind of figure out where it was originally sold for, where it was sourced from. Where through Watchbox, there's nothing shady going on. We're not sourcing everything that you see on our website. We own, so we've inspected it. We've put work into it. It's not consignment. We own that, and we put our name behind it. We warranty it if it's out of factory warranty, all that stuff. So that's gray market in the U.S., and there's a lot of it. Joma Shop's just a very well-known company, but there's a ton of other dealers on 47th Street in New York, California, wherever, where, you could buy new goods from non-authorized dealers. Then in Hong Kong, it is a totally different level. You can get, and people don't believe me when I say this, you can get any watch. Doesn't matter how rare it is. Could be a unique piece. It could be 10 only produced ever. You can get that within a day, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. You can find that piece.
So it actually means that having so many other, I would say, competitors in Hong Kong, right, is actually beneficial for you because it means that you have more channels to look for these watches rather than
networks are more open, right?
Yeah.
Yes, open network, but that's not Watchbox's main source of business. We really deal in pre-owned, so I'm not saying that this is something that we do. It's just a fact that you can really source anything here in Hong Kong. So if you have that one client who specifically is looking for something super rare, that's a channel, but also another channel is because we have been in business for so long that we have a huge network of collectors that we can always go back to and say, you bought this watch from us 3 years ago. I have someone looking for it. Would you consider selling it? And then we know, well, the watch came from us. We know this collector. Let me kind of be the middleman and I'll get my new collector something that they really want. And the guy who previously owns it, makes out okay too.
Yeah. So it's like auctions auction houses where they got certain clients to keep.
Yeah. Private sales.
Yeah.
So back to the gray market. It's just that I think it all feeds through Hong Kong.
Okay.
There's a lot of gray market in Japan as well, but I think because Hong Kong is no sales tax, that it's just a massive business here. So in gray market, you'll get Rolexes from Korea, Italy, like random ADs that you'll see the card.
From Poland, I think. The Bulgari Octo.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, straight from one of those. I think it was Poland.
Okay.
Because one of my friends bought one.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was like,
so he got it off the gray market.
Yeah, he got it off the gray market.
He got it brand new.
Yeah, so how they did it was it obviously had the box, didn't have the papers, but the papers would come a couple of weeks later.
Oh, okay.
So that the papers are still in because the boutiques are obviously aware of some of these things happening, and they try and prevent it. So the papers need to be filled in at the boutique, and then it's then sent over.
All right.
Yeah.
So wait, do you guys actually think or believe that the actual brands deal directly to the gray market?
Not the actual brands, but I think the ADs. They're authorized dealers. especially if it's Rolex, if
Yeah.
it's a Pepsi or Hulk or something that they can get a premium on.
Okay.
I've seen, I'm not going to say which which ADs in Hong Kong, but I have seen some of my clients will come to me and say, I bought this Hulk at retail, but I paid 115,000 Hong Kong. And I'm like, what? Retail's way less than that. And they're like, well, I bought it at retail. It's brand new, but they'll bring it in and I look at the receipts. There's two. There's one receipt where it's the retail price, and there's one receipt where there's a service cost, and really that service cost is the premium that they're paying on top because these ADs want more money. That's what happens sometimes, and also a lot of the times it's not so much end users and they're just selling it to other gray dealers that will pay a premium for it. So when you go into a Rolex AD, and it's not just Rolex, it's every brand, and you're looking for something specific and they don't want to give it to you, they probably have it in stock and they're probably holding on to it to get more money from someone else.
That's terrible.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of knew it was happening, but to hear it from you, it's a bit different.
Yeah. It's like validated, right? Yeah.
And then also, at the same time, I can't really blame the ADs, right? Because they buy in a lot of stock. The money is in the stock.
I can blame the ADs. That's not their business.
Well,
They're supposed to be dealing to end users.
Yeah.
And like, that's not above board. Usually ADs discount. They don't charge more.
I agree with her.
Oh, for the charging more?
Yeah.
What I meant was...
For the just specific... that's mainly for Rolex or certain... I don't really hear it about Patek, honestly.
Yeah.
But Rolex, a lot in Hong Kong. It's certain ADs that definitely charge premiums. And that's the whole thing about the gray market. It's that you can get pieces you normally can't. Either cheaper or more expensive depending on the piece. But yeah, it's like a loophole.
So do you think groups like Richemont, they buy Watchfinder because they know this, right? They understand this is happening. So
I think Richemont made a very, very smart move, and they benefit it because obviously they can buy back their inventory and use that as money towards selling their new stock. So you have a Panerai or you sell a Panerai and in 5 years the client doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
But you want that client to buy another Panerai.
Yeah.
So here is a way that person can now use the money that they had spent, probably not as much, but use that money towards getting new stock. And that's a win-win.
Okay.
So now Watchfinder has inventory to sell. They're going to make money off of that. And again, they're also making money off of a new sale through Richemont.
No, I think like pre-owned definitely has to come in. Like the brands have to find a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And even when I last went to Langer, I think I was with a friend and he was they actually said, "Oh, we can take this watch off you, right, and give you credit."
Right.
Yeah.
Through that's through Watchfinder though.
Yeah.
I would think whatever they buy then gets sold as pre-owned inventory through.
The only issue is
Watchfinder.
price, because obviously you think because it's a big company, you think, oh, they might give me a crap price, but not everybody can be bothered to actually find best price, and the best price might not be like worth it. You know what I mean? Like it's only like an extra whatever.
Here's the difference. I would think, and I don't know this is my own interpretation of it, theory. I would think that the brands, for example, Panerai or Lange, they don't want to cheapen it. So they're not going to offer a shit price on it because then they're lessening their brands. They're saying, well, retail's $80,000 on this whatever datograph, but I'm going to buy it back for $35,000 and then who knows what they resell it for. But the point is that that's what they're saying, the depreciation of their own brand is. So that's where it's tricky, where Richemont has to be careful.
Yeah.
You have to be careful about that. With Watchbox, we have no affiliation with the brands directly or the watch groups.
Yeah.
So when we're saying we can only offer this for your watch, it's not then cheapening or making someone turned off about buying a different one. It's just, you know what I mean? Like there's no...
Yeah, totally. I think one, like just coming to my head, maybe one way would be that it just focused on models that don't exist anymore.
Right.
that could protect the
That protects
new
the
models, right? So that they
equity
can,
of the brand.
Yeah, exactly. But because if you don't do that, it's essentially saying you can get all these watches for cheaper, right?
It's
with the same guarantee, same warranty.
They are literally saying your watch from our brand
is
is
actually worth that
only
much.
worth this.
Yeah.
So which brand do you think has the best resale and worst resale? Just from experience, what
It
you
totally
see.
depends on the model.
Yeah.
And there are definitely trends. So it's not all across the board. It's always been this way.
Okay.
But I think in general, the first brand that will always come to a dealer's mind as being an easy sell and value and having value retention is a Rolex.
Okay.
100%. When you think of, when someone says luxury watch, what's the first brand that comes to mind?
Rolex.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a global thing. That's
Okay.
not you and
Yeah,
Daniel
yeah,
and me.
yeah.
That's a global thing. When everyone wants their first luxury watch,
Yeah.
Rolex comes to mind.
Yeah.
So there's the brand equity there that there's just a massive market for Rolex. There will always be more people that may buy that watch than, for example, a Grand Seiko, just because more people know about Rolex.
Yeah.
So it's easier to sell.
How do you know the market price of a watch? Do you take the average of like whatever's trading and then you work it out? Like, is there a formula?
We do it based on, it's really based on demand.
Okay.
It's based on previous sales. So
Okay.
we typically have around 4,000 watches in stock. And it's a very fast paced inventory, like ingoing, outgoing cycle. So we have so much data on what things sell for that from that, obviously you work backwards and you figure out what you want to own it for. But it's also super visible with pricing on Chrono24, auction houses, eBay, so be it. But those are ask prices. So you'll see a bunch of watches posted
Yeah.
for a certain price on Chrono24, and then someone comes to us and says, I see this price on Chrono24 and you're only offering me this. And I said, well, those pieces are on Chrono24 currently. That means they're not selling.
Yeah.
So you can't go by that price. That's someone's ask price.
Yeah.
That's not the true value of the watch. So the way that we do it really is based on sale pricing and data such as like our own data and demand.
All right.
That touches many issues with Chrono24. I mean, we could actually just do a podcast just on the issues with Chrono24. But now we're in this period of COVID-19, right? Obviously you just said that Watchbox is hold stock most of the time. Does Watchbox have any different strategic? Are you even allowed to discuss it? Like, what are they changing their like model, if anything?
No,
or is the
we're
market
not changing.
changing?
We're not changing our model. I think we're maybe being a little bit more careful on taking inventory in, but we've always tried to be, and I think we are, like in terms of like super reliable pre-owned resellers. We try to be the best price out there, as competitive as possible.
Okay.
So no, we haven't. I mean, I also don't really want to get into the nitty gritty of it because I work for the company. I don't own it. But yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Next question.
Next question.
so you know how carrying on from what you said, COVID, everything's slowing down.
Yeah.
Do you think there's certain brands that are going to struggle selling going forward in the next 6 months, maybe? Because I always feel like in my head, I'm like, there's a certain bracket of people, which I don't want to say recession proof, right? But then they don't care. They're just going to keep buying. So like Richard Mills, Jacob and Co., the high crazy bracket, right? And then what about those which are like, even FP Jordan, right?
Even hot pieces, basically.
Hot pieces, but a bit, a bit expensive.
Yeah, I definitely think I agree to your point. There are different levels. And there's definitely up to a certain level, people that are quote unquote recession proof and will take advantage of the market. It's just like stocks. Stocks go down.
Yeah.
Like sharks will then go after taking, things at good
prices.
buying at good prices. Yeah. It's the same right now.
It's a buyer's market.
Right now is a buyer's market. So you have, again, the people that are recession proof that see, Nautilus that 6 months ago was selling for $75,000. Now you can get it for $55,000. They're going to get it now because at $75,000, it's not that they couldn't afford it. It's that they didn't think it was worth it. But now the market's down. They have that opportunity. They're going to buy it. So yeah, trends, I would say the brands and the level, would be the mid-tier, I would say sub $15,000 watches, maybe even sub $10,000. Because the people,
we're talking HKD, USD.
Sorry, US
50.
dollars.
Okay.
Because the people that, in general, if someone's buying a $5,000 Omega that they've saved up for a year, and that's like a big gift, not to say that that's cheap, it's just a different level compared to a $50,000 watch. That person may be more affected by a downturn in the market, and they may not think that spending $5,000 is worth it.
The money has to go somewhere else now.
The money now needs to be saved or go somewhere else. So it's really that lower tier of watches, I would say sub $10,000, where that's the group of watch consumers, not collectors, that are probably going to hold off a little bit until there's more security in the economic.
I totally agree.
There's less uncertainty, I would say. Yeah. And then they'll continue to buy again. The watches in the $50,000 range, we're not seeing a slowdown. We're actually, like I said, we're seeing an acceleration because people are jumping at
prices.
Yeah.
I actually, recently, I don't know why, but for no reason, I started going through some of the watch company websites, which I've never been onto, like Urwerk, Devathune, and so on. Right. And I realized they all have this secondhand tab. So they're starting to do it themselves, right? Is this, is this competition for you guys? How does it affect you guys?
I don't really know how that works. I guess they go back to their collectors. Yeah. Or their collectors go direct to them
go directly
and say,
to them,
I want to sell this watch.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much how it works, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I've never experienced anything in that, so I don't know what
independents are they're few and far between. The numbers they produce are very low. They probably know most of the clients directly. Yeah. So it gives them an option to trade the watch in, and they can give it to a collector, like our mutual friend.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
Who actually is looking for a yellow gold or rose gold 110 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually know who has that, right? And then I can shift it and then make money, and also make sure that that person may buy a new Urwerk in the future.
So it's not credit; it's actually money back to the customer.
Okay, that I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I actually don't see that as competition. I see that as more validation that the secondary market is more important. Is becoming more. I don't want to say important, more accepted and stronger than retail. So not competition. To me, that's awesome because that just proves that one, we're in a good space selling on the secondary market, pre-owned specifically, but also that brands see that as such an important thing that they need to, like, very traditional, forget independence, but even traditional companies are starting to look into how can they get involved with the secondary market. Yeah.
I think the way that how political the groups are and how the brands are, to be honest, secondary market, I don't think is going to be their strong point. I think companies like Watchbox, Watchfinder, the reason why they exist is because the brands don't know what the fuck to do. And to get it all together, you don't have to play the politics with certain brands. You can just deal with all these brands on the secondary market, blah, blah, blah. But once it goes on to more official stuff, the amount of politics involved, I just don't think they could even get it together.
I agree in some way. I don't think it's that they don't know what they're doing because you can figure it out pretty easily. To me, it's more of what I spoke about before. It's like the fine line between brand equity and saying, you bought this watch from us at $80,000. We're going to pay you $50,000 for it, and we're going to sell it for $60,000. So it's the brand equity thing, which I think is, I think they just have to be more careful of that. It's not that they don't know how to navigate the secondary market or appeal to their primary consumers. It's more that how do you, like, I don't even understand it. Like, how can you balance or delicately say, again, you bought this at 80,000.
Yeah.
We only think it's worth 50 now, and we're going to sell it for 60.
Yeah.
And this doesn't include
delicate. That's
the discount that they give you as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, right.
All the brands give different discounts.
right. So I don't think it's that they won't know. Well, maybe that's what they won't know how to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with her. For me, I'm not very familiar with a lot of brands, right? But I remember, so AP started doing their own secondhand market, but then in Geneva, they actually already have the actual booth for a secondhand watches, and to see the first-hand ones here, right next to the secondhand ones, that experience is so weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, and you spend so much on marketing, but now you're just like walking into a store and you're like, should I just buy from the secondhand section?
It's
right?
cheaper.
Yeah, and it's just that image, like I just can't get out of my mind.
A good friend of mine, we compared it to the car industry. You know how you do have that scenario in the car industry where you go in and you go for the pre-owned Mercedes and you've got the first-hand Mercedes,
exactly.
right? But cars are different.
Cars are different.
They're more customized.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when they release a car, they a few years later they do a facelift. So when you buy that new one and you rock that new one because you want to look like I got the new one, people can actually see you got the new one. But with watches, the design, like the Royal Oak, for example, doesn't change, right? You can't see that it was, different.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a really key point.
Yes.
Why cars can actually potentially get away with it, and watches have to find a different way of getting away with it. I shouldn't say getting away with it, like a different way of actually just doing it.
So do a lot of your customers say to you, okay, Zoe, what's the resale value on this? Is it going to go up? Do they care about this kind of stuff?
I think it's 50-50.
Okay.
Half the time people don't care about what it may sell for in the future because they love that watch. They're going to keep it. It's in their collection. And if in the future they have to sell it or just decide to sell it, it's just not on their immediate mind when buying a watch. And then you have the other 50% that are a little bit more conscious of, okay, well, if I buy this, I love it, but I know myself, I'm probably going to trade it. Will it at least attain the same value, or am I going to lose a shitload of money on this watch? It's definitely a question that I get asked a lot. What value retention? Boom. Please, talk to me about it. What do you think? And I can't predict the market. I have no idea what in 6 months one watch is going to sell for, if it's, a super popular piece. If it's a, mass produced IWC Pilot's watch, I'm fairly certain what it's going to sell for in 6 months. If you're buying a Nautilus or a Hulk or something that's super in demand, high premium, you can't predict that.
I wonder if, you can tell me, do customers come back to you and blame you and say, hey, you made me buy this watch, and then look at the value, it's going down?
I've never forced anyone to buy a watch.
Okay,
I've never made someone buy a watch. I may have influenced it, I may have guided them, but no, I've never been blamed. I definitely get some butthurt people that have bought watches that maybe I didn't even believe in to begin with. I've never said, you're gonna score on this one. You're really gonna do well. It's usually the watches that I already know. If this client happens to come back and sell it to me, I'm screwed. I can't even give him an offer. It's gonna be too offensive. I feel bad.
Okay.
Okay. So, is there any watch out there that you haven't seen or haven't had the opportunity to see that you really want to see? Because you see a lot of really nice stuff, right?
Yeah, you keep pinging us messages and saying, come over here and look at this watch, which is great for us. And we do see some unique pieces and all that kind of stuff. Recently, a lot of FPJs have been coming your way. We've been very fortunate to play with those. Resonance comes to mind.
That's a hard question. I think that since I mainly deal in modern, I think what I miss out on are super rare and interesting vintage pieces, which used to be my main focus because I worked for Antiquorum. I was in the auction industry, and modern watches were always like just kind of fillers for the auction, but the big items were always those really cool vintage pieces or rare pieces. So I think I miss out on, like I didn't have the opportunity to see the Paul Newman Daytona. Like I don't.
You mean the Paul Newman?
The Paul Newman. Like that's a piece that goes to auction because it's going to reach the biggest buyer base. And of course, you don't really know the value of that watch. So you want that to be as visible as possible. And you want everyone to have their own opinion on value. And it's going to go for the price. For the highest
that's why you
bidder.
have the auction.
That's why you have the auction. Yeah. So it's pieces like that, for example, that I don't really come across that
you would have liked to.
Yeah. I mean, not that specifically. That's just an example of something that I don't get to see.
All right.
I mean, I think none of us saw. Have you seen that long?
No.
Yeah. So none of us have seen that piece.
Yeah.
So you're talking about very, very, very,
Besides
very
that,
rare
I mean, if it's a modern model, if it's new, even if it's super rare, I've probably seen it.
Okay.
Nice.
Luckily.
Okay. Can you share with us a funny story about a customer with you? Yeah.
There are definitely funny stories. I think some are funny because they're inappropriate.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot of funny stories, but I think
when you say inappropriate because you're a girl, is that
I mean, in the end, I think it was because I was a girl that it became inappropriate.
Okay, I'm
not sure this guy would do it to a man. Maybe he would, but
let's call him Bob.
Everybody now we don't want to call him called Bob.
Yeah.
So Bob and he's my client.
Let's just clarify that.
But let's just clarify. He's my client. He's traded a few watches with me. And after maybe the second deal that we did, at that point we had WhatsApped a lot. And the way that I work with my clients, I'm more of like a friend than a salesperson. So I give you my opinions. You can ask me anything. I'll be honest. And so this guy and I had like a very friendly rapport.
Yeah.
And it was early morning for me, but late night for him because he's in the US.
Yeah.
And I get this picture of...
I'm scared.
I think I know what's coming.
I can't even figure out.
I know what's coming.
No, it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But I can't figure out the angle that he took the picture. But I think it was from the top, and he was laying on a bed with his shirt off in boxers. So there was nothing inappropriate shown, but the whole thing was inappropriate.
Yeah.
And then he had a watch
over
his crotch.
Oh. Yeah.
Again, with boxers, so I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And he sent that.
What watch was it? I've got to ask.
That's irrelevant.
I know, I got to ask.
You know what? I don't even remember because I was
so disgusted.
I was just so like shocked by it that I was like, holy shit, what did this guy just send me? How do I react? Like, there's a fine line because he's my client. I can't be like, dude, go fuck yourself. Like, I don't want to see that. You're married with a kid. Oh my God, would you normally send that out? Like, why are you sending that to me?
Yeah.
And I was really like repulsed, shocked,
insulted,
offended, like
so what did you do?
Scared.
Yeah.
I can pull it up. I still have it in a conversation.
I don't really want to see that.
I want to see. I want to see it.
Don't really.
Show us after.
I'll show you after.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll keep it private. I don't want to like whatever. So that happened, and I'm trying to think of what I said to him. I was just like,
well, what did he say? Was he like, what do you think?
Should I pull it up?
Yes.
All right. So ask me another question. It might take a while. Let me just like pull this up really quickly.
Well,
okay, since we're talking about this, right?
Yeah, you two discuss.
You haven't reached those kind of levels yet, right?
No, I have, but it's not with the watch.
Guys like send like that stuff?
Oh, I have to show you. This guy was literally at the so he knew that I was flying to Shanghai for the Shanghai Watch Festival.
Yeah.
And he's like,
How do you know that?
Because he says, I'm so excited, I'm going. And I was like, this is the first time. Remember, this is when I first started like Instagram and connecting with people, right? Yeah. So I was like, this is amazing. This is how it works. Like all the watch people connect like this, and then we're all gonna get to meet each other there in Shanghai, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, because he doesn't show his face. So I was like, just come and say hi to me, right? Yeah. And then it starts. So it starts with, I'm going to the gym. And then you're like, you can see him taking a selfie, topless, everything. And then you're like, okay, just let me ignore that. Then he goes further. Then he does a collection of photos in like topless, but he puts it into, you know, those apps like Pic Collage where you basically,
Oh,
so he actually
man.
makes a collage of it.
He took even more fun over
And
it.
I
What
was
a
like,
douchebag.
wow. Yeah. Then I just started ignoring him. But yeah,
The thing is,
I'm ready.
Like, okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
I
see
found
this.
it.
Let's have a look.
But wait, what did he?
have a look.
What did he say? Was
Now
he just very
let's
casual?
backtrack a little bit and get to how that
Bob.
how
Yeah.
I even got that picture. Okay, so he's obviously on our mailing list because he's a client of mine,
Yeah,
and so
Do you think he'll be listening to this?
I hope so.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
Yeah, he
No
should
offense
listen.
to you guys,
get
but
rid of
probably
these
not.
predators.
Um, so he sends me a message that I hadn't spoken to him in about a month.
Yeah.
I keep getting your emails and it makes me all tingly.
Oh, predator.
And I go, haha.
That is
Well,
worse than me.
Yeah, that's worse than you, and
So-
you're already like that.
I mean,
I said the levels.
what do you do? You laugh. So I go,
Yeah,
haha,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he goes, okay, so tracing back steps, interesting night, ... and then sends me that photo. And here it, let me
Well,
cover
he says
the-
interesting
he's not-
night. What interesting night?
His own interesting.
his own interesting night. I guess he was taking photos.
Oh.
He got to taking photos and was proving it. So he's like, here's a photo.
God, I'm.
And then he goes,
Yeah.
I think I took this intending to say something clever with
Yeah.
like this
Yeah,
emoji, like,
yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
he's gauging your response.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
putting feelers out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
feelers.
But you know deep down he wants to send
Of
me
course.
a dick pic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Why, Dad? Explain.
why do you want to send me a dick
Look,
pic?
yeah, you're gonna get me in trouble. Yes, you're assuming that I keep sending dick pics out. Like, no way.
Why?
But I think it's a very important thing that we actually say. You know, it's
Yeah.
not on. Yeah, like, and I know you two
Yeah.
get it a lot, and I want to say like people should
Stop
stop.
it.
Yeah, should stop
Stop
doing
it
that.
now.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, you're there for watches, and they should treat you like watch collectors. Yes, I know you're girls, but guys, you need to cool it, man. It's not on.
Don't get too excited. Like, I mean, how excited do you really
Well, you
get
got
by
to understand, a
watches?
lot of watch collectors are pretty geeky,
I guess
and then
so.
the girls that are into the same kind of thing,
It's
as
exciting.
them, it's like suddenly you get elevated to goddess level.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's. So
That was funny though.
he says, I
Either
think
way.
I
Yeah.
took this intending to say something
Yeah.
clever. I go,
Yeah.
haha, what the fuck? WTF?
Dude, you're a lot better than me.
See, like,
Everything I just double tap.
Yeah, double tap. She's
I'm
double
like,
tap.
no
Oh,
conflict.
this is WhatsApp,
I'm just-
so I
yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And then there's some like non-related information. The
Yeah.
next night, he goes, "Okay, got it now." And then I don't respond. He goes,
Yeah.
"Okay, I feel like there's no support for this, so I'll skip the joke."
Yeah, no shit. There's no support. Like,
And I go, "Oh God, haha." And it just keeps going where he like really wants to
Yeah.
send it to me.
yeah.
And I go, "I don't know what it is." And he sends me an eggplant emoji. And I go, "Why are you sending that to me?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, "LOL, there was a joke to go along with it." I go, "Can
Yeah.
you say the joke without the
Yeah.
eggplant emoji?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I mean, it wouldn't be funny." So I'm like, I don't think sending the eggplant
Vegetables.
emoji would
Yeah.
be appropriate.
Oh,
He
so you
goes,
finally said that.
No,
No,
finally.
yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah.
yeah. And then he goes, "Okay, then no." I said, "Let's keep it friendly and PG." He
Yeah.
goes, "Okay, fine." But it was friendly. It was funny. So he like keeps
Yeah, he's
pushing it.
obviously, yeah.
I go, "I'm sure it is. It's not appropriate, especially doing business with each other." He goes, "Fair, fair, fair. But if we didn't, ... Bad series of jokes." Okay, I'll shut up now. Anyway, so it keeps going, keeps going, keeps going.
Yeah,
The next
yeah.
night, same fucking thing. He's
Yeah.
like, "Do you want to hear my joke?" Or blah, 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 blah.
Like,
all this
no,
stuff. Like,
get a fucking life. Like, oh my
I'm
God.
assuming that the joke,
Feeling a bit embarrassed for you,
Was-
man, right now.
God, it makes
the
me so
joke was
mad.
probably
Yeah.
like his dick hard
Yeah,
with the watch
yeah,
hanging from it.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to see that, especially from a client.
But a lot of
Especially
guys as
from a
well
client.
who have this kind of money, but some of them live in a different world where they think that they can get away with shit, right?
But what?
I'm not saying it's
So
right.
I'm
just
asking
saying-
you this and not
Yeah,
one
yeah.
because I'm generally curious.
Yeah, okay.
what
She asks me the same questions all the time.
Yeah.
what would he have gotten out of that? So he sends me a dick pic, right?
Because he's obviously trying to get laid with you eventually.
No, but we live across the world from
Yeah,
each
but
other.
it's not like he can't
has
fly
a
over.
wife and a baby,
Yeah.
and he's
the wife
my
and baby,
client.
it's not like,
Yeah, it's like,
it's
it's
not
not part
actually
of-
anything that in his mind that actually
Yeah.
matters, because otherwise
Yeah.
he wouldn't even start the
Yeah.
conversation, right? But his idea is, okay, I'll start that relationship with you first. Start
And
that
then we
gentle
just
flirting.
send dirty photos.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
watches?
send that. Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then if he ever comes to Hong Kong, or if you ever go over there, where Bob lives, yeah, then he knows he's got a sure win.
I've clearly given him a different impression than my interests, than like exchanging dirty photos with him.
Yeah, so
I mean-
that's what generally
I guess-
Yeah.
guys are not that complicated, I think.
God, it's just
Not as
I think
complicated
it's
as
different because,
girls,
I mean,
man.
sometimes I will flirt with clients
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
appropriate. I don't
Yeah.
know if there's ever an appropriate time, but sometimes there is if it's like a guy that I've dated and
Yeah.
whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But at this point when he starts to send this to me, there was no flirtation. It was all business.
Did you see this coming? Like,
No,
can
I didn't see it coming
Yeah, but come
because
on,
it was all
no.
business.
Do you ever see it come in?
Yes and no.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah,
If you meet the
sometimes
person in
vibe,
10
right?
seconds, I know you know it. You
Yeah,
can feel
like,
it, right?
Yeah, you can feel it. With some
Yeah.
people,
Yeah,
just
you
from
can
the
feel
way
it.
they look
You
at
can
you're like, it's
feel.
coming.
You
Yeah.
can feel their. What's I
Yeah,
don't know.
you can-
Yeah.
it's a gut
it's their
feeling,
tone.
yeah.
It's their tone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of this, right? I want to know, like, let our listeners know what's the proper etiquette then. Like, if when they come to Watchbox, right? And then they get to know you and they're like, hey, can I get your number? Because they obviously need to continue this conversation about watches, right? Is there like set hours to text or like, what's
Oh
the
my
best?
god,
Yeah.
there's no set hours. I have clients texting me, and it's not that it's it's not that they're like trying to hook up with me. It's,
Yeah.
but like watches are on their mind, and
Yeah.
they have my personal number, and it's just easy for them to
Okay.
just, a question pops up in their mind, and
Yeah.
how much is this worth? And then it's 2 a.m. and they're texting me at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that it's inappropriate
Yeah.
from a sexual sense
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's more, it's like, it's inappropriate because that's my job. And at 2 a.m. I'm usually sleeping. So
Yeah.
please, like, text me at 8 a.m.,
Yeah.
10 p.m.
Yeah.
But don't expect a response when it's 2 a.m., even if you see that I am on WhatsApp. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be.
This
Yeah.
comes to actually one of the things. The next question, right? That when I've had dinner with you, right, and with you and Josh, and you came up with the word, like the term strokers, right? And it was like, obviously, it was a term that you're very like you obviously using it a lot because the way you kept on saying it, right? And me and our mutual friend, I was like, what the hell is a stroker? Right? I don't even know what's a stroker, right?
What would you think? So, Lung, I said that guy,
Yeah.
like, he's potentially buying a watch, but he's a total stroker. What would you think that meant?
I'm trying to like keep because I can see the questions, right? But if you had just
Oh.
said that to me, right, I would have been like, it's just someone wasting your time.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
it, right?
That's it. So to me, a stroker is a guy that, or not a guy,
Yeah.
a potential client
Yeah.
that talks a lot, asks a lot of questions, always is interested in pricing,
Mm-hmm.
but it gets to the point where you just get this feeling he's not serious about buying. He's
Yeah.
just fishing or shopping around or wasting your time.
God.
And that's a stroker. It's
Yeah.
like, it's when it gets to the point where it's a common thing and you just know that this guy's going to contact me
Yeah.
once a week about the same thing, but he's never going to buy it.
Okay.
Most of the time, he's probably price checking, right?
Either price checking or I think toying with the idea to buy it, but again, not totally serious. And look, if you're not 99% sure that you're going to buy a watch from me, I'm not saying it's a waste of time if you inquire about things all the time. It's when it's constant and it never leads to anything and it's just them fishing for information.
Okay.
That's a stroker.
So, are there any other terms that you guys use in the
Yeah.
trade that I'd love to go
Yeah,
out
it'll be
there
really
and I'd
funny,
say,
right?
you know,
I think
like
that-
if I
I
met the
mean,
right
look-
dealers, oh, he's a stroker. That sounds
Yeah.
like I know what I'm talking about.
But no. I don't think that's across like the board. I think that's when you work with people 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, and you're always
Yeah.
talking to them. I think naturally just things come up
Yeah.
and then it catches on and then
Yeah.
you use it more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's very specific terms like stroker that, I mean, Lung
Yeah.
could figure it out just from saying that. And I don't know any other dealer that may or may not use that. Yeah, there are very specific terms that we use, and amongst the office, we all know what it means.
I think dick or douchebag are kind of like very common international
I mean, that's
words,
right.
right?
Yeah. No, I mean, none of them are offensive. Like a stroker,
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's slightly offensive, but it's not like, you know, a fucker or like a piece of shit. You know, like it's a little bit asshole. Like it's a little bit gentler, and all of the terms are usually like gentle.
Okay,
Do you
all
get
right.
people that come in and just take a wrist shot as if it's their watch? No, right? Okay.
No.
Have you had
I'm
any
sure at
embarrassing,
retail stores
Yeah.
that happens a lot, and I'm guilty of it. I'll go to I'm not going to say it because you guys are a fan of the brand, and be like, oh, this is a sick watch. Take it, you know, post it on Instagram. It's not to say that it's mine, but like I went to that boutique to see that watch, but I'm not going to buy it.
Okay. Okay.
Have you had any embarrassing fake watch moments when the clients come in, right, and it's like a fucking fake watch?
It's more of a polite thing of just, you know, we're not interested in purchasing this particular watch.
So you don't tell him it's fake?
I will usually suggest that they take it to the brand for inspection. So we'll say, you know, this isn't a piece that we're interested at this time. However, if you want to learn a little bit more about the watch, I would take it directly to Rolex or Breguet or whatever it is. Yeah. And that will either push them to say, okay, they know it's a fake and they're not going to buy it. Or if they don't genuinely know that it's fake, hopefully they do go to the brand and learn that it's fake and can get their money back or whatever.
Have you ever had it where you have taken on a fake piece?
It
by
has
mistake?
happened, but not in a way where we've then sold it. Like it gets
Okay, so
caught.
how did that happen?
It gets caught.
Like, it goes through certain levels of protocols and then finally get caught.
Inspections and
So
everything, yeah.
did you find the original seller of that watch and then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's never
So
a
he didn't
massive
even know perhaps
problem.
either. Okay.
Depends. You know, someone can always lie about it. Someone can say they didn't know, but you know, they know.
Which ones do you see the most often? Like which brand?
Rolex, Daytonas,
and
the variations of the Daytona fakes that you see are just so interesting because.
Or we talking about different types, like stainless steel one or the ceramic ones, or.
You'll see that a lot of the fakes that come from, and I've traveled a lot, like I told you in the first interview.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of fakes in Vietnam or Cambodia. And I think because the watch market isn't so massive there, that people can create these fakes that don't even remotely look like actual models, but they can say, this is a Rolex or this is a fake Rolex.
Yeah.
So some of the pieces that get sent to me to sell, like they don't remotely pass as anything genuine.
I recently came across one and it was like a full gold pave dial day date.
Yeah.
And like you just lift it up.
Oh.
It's like, right, okay.
Most of them are sent by photos, so I don't get to actually have them in my hands. But of course, there are some really tough to tell fakes, and even so much as they may have a real movement that was put in a fake case, and those are the things that you really have to watch out for. Because even I went to Shenzhen, for my own viewing pleasure of all the fakes that are out there. And there are some that, yes, when you have it in your hand, you can feel the difference. But by looking at it, I was
There's no way I can tell.
I was like, wow, the attention to detail, the engraving, the case back, the serial number, like everything. If I saw a picture of that watch, I would 100% think it was real. It's scary.
Yeah.
When do you do I remember on Instagram you do a fake watch.
That's Friday.
I did,
Friday.
I try
Yeah.
to do it every Friday, but honestly, I don't get that many fakes that I have the material to do it
It's
every
actually
Friday.
Today's was easy
Today was okay.
because a lot of them were like
they were
really,
so obvious.
Yeah,
I
really
know.
obvious,
Today was easy, but
Guys, if you don't understand, follow Zoe. It's so fun. It's like a game.
Yeah.
so I try
Yeah.
to put out a lot of different content that's interactive, but
Yeah.
different than every other, you know, like ask me
Yeah,
anything or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. So I do Fake Watch Fridays where I post real pieces and then photos of fake watches that I get offered, and then it's your choice to see if you know if it's real or fake, and then at the end I tell you if it's real or fake. I get so much engagement from that. So many people are like, I look forward to this every week. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I love your dance routines personally.
Yeah, I know you keep mentioning that.
Yeah.
TikTok, I try to be creative
Yeah.
and relate it to watches. And then the other content that I am starting to do a little less frequently is Tuesday trivia. So watches that we have in our office, I'll pick up and then, you know, quiz you on when it was released or discontinued or something like that.
Yeah,
and I find that also people like to engage with that because it's educational for them.
Yeah, I
Totally.
like it.
One of my favorite pages is Langopedia.
Yeah, very good.
Because there's so many watches on the, you know, where you just see the picture and then, awesome. I'm probably guilty of that too. But I actually do want to learn about the piece I'm looking at. If I've stopped to look at it, I do actually want to learn more about it. And if in Langopedia, he writes stuff on there where you know the piece, you've seen the piece, but there's stuff in that information that I didn't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Of
And it's
course.
like, whoa.
There's so much
And the pictures
to know.
are obviously amazing.
Amazing.
As well.
I think there are people that know a lot about a little or a little about a lot.
Yes.
So like in my industry, unless you're Tim Masso, it's impossible to know every detail about every version of each model and everything. And there's so many times that I get tripped up, and to no fault of my own. I mean, if some client comes in very interested in a very specific Lange model and they start spitting knowledge to me that I don't know, I can't know everything.
Exactly.
So if they're researching that watch, there's a very good possibility they may know more than me.
Yeah.
And what I do know where I come in is I know the market. So I have the data to explain. You may know the technical features and all of that, but and the history of the watch, but I may know the market. And that's why you're coming to me, right? You want to know pricing.
Well, like, I don't know. We'll see how this podcast goes. I know, but you could be like the dealer. You know what I mean? Have your own character, the dealer, right? And so
Why
people
do you, like turn down your voice? It's like,
because
like it's
you know,
evil.
you imagine not evil, like
But she could be
Or
like
it's like
the whistleblower.
something-
no, because it's somewhere that a lot of collectors then they don't know about, right? Like there's a lot of things that they guess.
There's a fine line of how much I should share, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously you do know some stuff that we're not supposed to know, right? Or
Not that you're not supposed to know it, but
just tell me afterwards. Right. So should we go for the quick fire and finish this up? Okay.
But wait, let's there was one point I want to go back on.
Sure.
From the last interview. We did ask her about women, how to sell watches to women and women being
How do you
more
get
interested.
women into watches.
Yeah.
that's a good question. So I had to think about this for a little bit. I think one, it definitely starts with women who are into it talking to other women about it.
Yeah.
So just you and I like spending more time together and talking about it, and then gradually like bringing people into it. I think also a main thing that you really don't see is there's so many fashion influencers on Instagram.
Yeah.
None of them focus on watches. They always
don't,
focus on shoes, handbags, jewelry. But why aren't watch brands taking that seriously and say like, this woman has a massive following in fashion. I know people separate watches and fashion, but that's a way to get women into it. So, you know, any massive woman fashion blogger, if they wear a Cartier Panther and they highlight it in an Instagram post, depending on their following, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people that are like, that's a cool watch. I'm interested in that. And then they do their own research.
It's like the Kanye effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's two things. It's women, you know, introducing it to other women, and it's also female influencers, focusing on watches as something cool to get into, and not just posting a picture of it, but being like, this is a watch that I got for my 30th birthday, and there's a history behind it. Here it is. And then naturally people get interested, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great thing that both of you are doing, bringing the attention to ladies and lady collectors. So all power to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. So, right, here we go.
Quick fire.
Yeah. There's not many here, actually.
Yeah.
Good.
Right. Would you rather walk 45 minutes in Hong Kong during August
Well, yesterday was the
or
hottest day, by the way.
eat durian?
Eat durian.
Really?
No
I thought you were
question.
really
like
active.
straight up. I'm very
Yeah.
active, but I can't take this humidity. If
Yeah.
you guys saw me 5 minutes before I walked into this air conditioned space,
Yeah.
this blue dress was black. Like it was sweat down my body, not on my face, like my body.
How did you get here today?
The Star Ferry.
Oh, so you were outside.
I was outside. I was outside.
That is the fastest way.
But that is the fastest way. But it's mainly the humidity that gets
Okay.
to me. So
Alright.
I am a sweater.
Has your body not got quite accustomed yet?
I've always run hot, so I've always
Okay.
been really. I've never been able to. I'm much better in the cold than I am.
I'm much better now. Like 5 years in.
I
6
haven't
years
really
in.
changed.
Yeah, I'm way better now. Well, yesterday you said was the hottest day.
Yeah,
I thought
in
yesterday was
Hong Kong.
beautiful. Like,
No,
I didn't think
it
I
was that
stayed
humid.
inside yesterday because I
Oh.
couldn't handle it.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was a
It
great
was
day.
hot.
I really can't. I can't chill. Like
Yeah.
I can't hang.
Okay. Did we do this one last time? The best restaurant in town? Did we do that one?
No.
No,
Best restaurant in town, Zoe.
I can't just pick one.
That's the
Okay,
same.
so
That's the
I
same
do-
answer as
do-
everybody.
I know.
Three.
Okay, wait.
Do
So
three.
I do love Duddles just
Yeah.
because I've been there the most. It's in the same building
Yeah.
as Watchbox.
Yeah.
So I go there for lunch all the time. It's
Yeah.
always a treat. I
Yeah.
love Duddles. It's more of like a westernized
Yeah.
dim
Yeah.
place, but they
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that. I do love Yardbird.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the ambiance. It's cool. Like that watch wow. You can see where my mind is. That restaurant can do well in Japan,
Yes.
in New York City,
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's such a cool place. Third favorite restaurant. Well, I don't know. I can tell you one of my favorite bars. Does that count?
Yeah. Okay. We'll
sure.
take that.
Koa, which is
Oh, I haven't
in-
been. They just opened, right?
N-
No, like
they've-
revamped
they've-
it. Or like,
I don't know how long. At least 2 years because
Yeah.
that's my date spot. I take
Oh,
all of my
really?
first dates there.
Okay. If I ever
For
see you
two
in there,
reasons.
Yeah.
I'll show. I'll ignore
So
you.
the
will
woman,
walk-
there's a few
yeah.
reasons why I always get there. One, it's around the corner. It happens to be the only tequila and mezcal bar that I really like. It's a super small place. It's very cool vibe, and I only drink tequila, which may seem aggressive on a first date, but
It is pretty aggressive, sorry. Like
it's just who I am. So I take all of my first dates there, or second and third, but
Yeah.
the woman who greets you, she's learned at this point to just act as if she hasn't seen me in like a year. So even though it could be like 2 weeks, 1 week, she's always like, "Hey Zoe, how are you? So
Yeah.
good to see you."
Yeah.
And it's always with a different guy. So she but she knows, because I've gone up to her and I'd be like, "I know I was here last night
like,
with a different guy. Here's the deal. I date like crazy. So you're going to see me a lot." So just like,
What a good team
just
player.
be cool.
Yeah.
And she's awesome.
Yeah.
She
What a
like,
team player.
she always comes up to the table and
Yeah.
she was like, "Here's your favorite." I'm like, "Don't tell him I come here that often." Like, you know,
right. Okay.
Koa. Yeah.
Right. Best restaurant ever.
Ever.
That's so you've
she's
got
gonna
your
say something in New York.
New York or
No?
Tokyo. I know she's a big fan. of
yeah.
Japan,
You
right?
know, the first thing that came to mind actually was recently I was in London and I went to, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to blank on it. A sushi place.
Yeah.
No.
Something rotundo. No, so I'm so far off. I'm really bad with
sushi.
names. It's sushi.
Yeah.
Favorite restaurant. There's also a place in Philadelphia that is
Yeah.
called Zahav, and they are it's incredibly made Israeli food.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't really have a favorite restaurant. I have favorite cuisines and like I have go-to spots, but yeah, I can't pinpoint.
Okay. Next one.
It changes all the time.
The best advice you could give to young people today, not watchers, just best advice you could give to young people.
Go with your gut.
Yeah, which is what you
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
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 Follow your gut because it's usually right.
Yeah, good. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Last one. Do you have any hobbies outside of watches and apparently dating now?
That's definitely a hobby. Hobbies outside. I'm an avid tennis player.
Wow.
That's
Oh.
cool.
that's my release. So I've played
Yeah.
that my whole life. I'm still not at the level that I want to be because it's really hard to play tennis. In New York, there aren't a
Yeah.
lot of courts. So for a good amount of time, I haven't been able to play as regularly as I wanted, but now I'm starting to get back into it here in Hong Kong.
Is it more accessible here in Hong Kong?
it's super expensive, but there are more courts. You just have to like plan ahead. So yeah, hobbies, I would say really, it's so like basic bitch style, but travel really is such a big interest of mine.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned that in the last podcast where
I
you've
travel
taken
like
this
crazy.
opportunity
Like
to
I'll
see most of Asia,
travel.
right?
I'll travel. I'll leave the office at 6 p.m. Get on a flight at 8. It's so easy. Obviously, here in Hong Kong, the airport's so quick. And then like travel somewhere and then be back Monday morning by 9 a.m. in the office. Like I'll go as crazy as that, where I just want to get away for 2 days. And obviously from Hong Kong, it's international. So I have a lot of stamps on my passport, and it's just because I guess it's my release.
Yeah.
You get away from your real life.
Yeah.
When I'm in Hong Kong, I'm working. I'm really not out and partying that much. I don't do that much. So when I go and travel, that's when I'm learning and exploring and experiencing.
Very cool.
Yeah, tennis and travel.
Okay.
Cooking too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I look
Very
forward
cool.
to that day when
Those
you
are
cook
my
for
3
me.
hobbies. Cooking, tennis, and travel.
Okay.
All right. So let's wrap up. Thank you. Thank you, Zoe. That was fun. Yeah.
I was also going to say playing the saxophone, but that was when I was like in middle school. But I do want to get back into it. So that may be an upcoming hobby
Well, all
that
the
you
guys,
see on Instagram.
if they hear that, they know exactly how to target you now.
Yeah, the
Teach me how to play saxophone
They're
again.
playing saxophone in a tennis court. Right?
Tequila.
Wearing a watch. Yeah.
Tequila.
With a glass of tequila there, right?
With pants on.
And
ideally not in the middle of
ticket,
summer as well.
An international flight ticket.
Yeah, international flight tickets, yeah.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you, Zoe.
guys.
Thank you very
That
much,
was
Zoe.
fun.
Yep. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Waiting List podcast. Hit the subscribe button and the next episode will come straight to your phone as soon as it's ready. Whilst I'm here, please remember to leave a nice review and follow us on Instagram at the Waiting List podcast.